Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday, April the 28th, 2020. I'm Joel Rissinger, the host of Pondering, and yes, you are watching or listening to, or both, hopefully. If you're watching, I hope you're listening also. The Pondering podcast and radio program brought to you daily, 7:30 to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Monday through Friday, at least, not every day, but Monday through Friday, weekdays. And what do we do in Pondering real well? We ponder. We think things through. We talk about them. And there are no holds barred in terms of topic. We talk about money. We talk about sex. We talk about politics, religion, you name it. And we do it. Oh, this is the worst part for some people. Ooh. We do it from an unabashedly, unashamedly, and yes, unapologetically Christian perspective and paradigm. Rush Limbaugh used to say he was the most dangerous man in America. Well, I would argue I am probably one of, if not the real most dangerous, the ultimately most dangerous man in America, because not only do I talk politics and other things in the news, but I am an unabashed, unashamed, and unapologetic redneck, Bible-thumping, evangelical pastor. Oh my gosh. But we appreciate having you with us. And listen, guys, kidding aside, we listen to other perspectives too. We welcome people who may disagree. We just ask that you disagreeable. That means you're not nasty. We don't call names. We don't impute motives. We deal with facts and logic and reason on this show. That is our goal. Because there are a couple of things we want to accomplish here. One is we want people to think things through, not just swallow the sound bites they hear or see on the news and other sources or in culture. And we want our Christian brothers and sisters not to check their brains at the door or their faith at the door either on Sunday, so that we can let our faith direct, guide, inform all that we think, say, and do. So it's a joy to be with you via Facebook Live here on the Pondering Radio page, but also through multiple podcast venues all across the fruited plain and around the world. You can get us on demand through your favorite podcast venue and listen whenever you like. And if you want to participate, well, that's easy. You can go into the Pondering Radio page on Facebook and type into the live stream. Let us know you're here. Right now, we've got a bunch of folks logging in. Wayne, good morning to you. Leanne, always a pleasure. Fred, my buddy, good morning. And Justina is with us. Well, that's fantastic. Great to have you with us. All of you and more. I probably missed somebody in there, but hey, you can make comments on the live stream. You can post on our Facebook page, the Pondering Radio page, 24/7, 365. You can send us comments and thoughts and ideas and suggestions at ponderingradio@gmail.com. Pondering Radio, like one big word, at gmail.com. Or you can call, leave a message 24/7 at 860-500-7163. Let me give you that number again. You got your pen ready? Piece of paper? Ready to go? 860-500-7163. 860-500-7163. All right, guys, listen, it's Tuesday. The month of April is almost over, believe it or not. And we have a lot happening, don't we? And I think what I sense and see and hear a lot about, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on this, is people have quarantine fatigue. They're just tired of being stuck inside. They're tired of social distancing. They're tired of not having, if they're not working, which many are not, they're tired of not working. They're just bored. They miss their friends. They miss their family. And folks are starting to rebel against that a little bit. I think some people expect they're going to step out the door and they're going to get zapped, Yeah, like that. Because of all they've heard in the news, they're going to get hit, not by God with a lightning bolt, but by the COVID virus. And now, as if there weren't enough hysteria and paranoia and fear, they've come up with new symptoms. So, in addition to the primary symptoms that they've been having everyone measure, and I have to every day report, as a hospice worker and chaplain, I have to report every day to our corporation, am I experiencing cough or a fever, or a sore throat? That was added. I think sore throat wasn't there originally, but now it is. And then I have to take my temperature and report whether or not, what the temperature was. And those were the primary symptoms, right? Especially the cough and fever. Well, now we've added, sore throat, we've had congestion, headaches, eye infections. My wife told me that this morning. There's a new one. Eye infections are now on the list. Loss of taste or sense of smell. There's a whole list. So basically, everybody's going to think they have COVID-19, right? And so then they have to get tested. But, the president didn't get us enough tests. So we won't be able to get tested. So we'll just keep infecting each other and running around scared. And it's his fault. So we need to get rid of Donald Trump and everything will be fine. Because then we'll have millions of test kits fall out of the sky. And everybody will get tested, of course, because everybody wants to be. Because everything that you could possibly experience in this life is now a symptom. I'm sorry. Listen, I am not making light of the virus or the loss. I'm working with people every day who have had it or lost someone with it or are treating patients with it or have lost patients. Talking to a nurse the other day who was holding someone's hand as they died of COVID-19, and it is difficult and brutal. So I'm not making fun of that. But what I am attacking, pushing back against, and if you've watched this show for more than 5 minutes, is the idea that we should make it worse than it is, build up the hype, scare everyone to death, and use it as a political tool to try to discredit our president or anybody else. I'm against the idea of using it for more socialist control by government of our lives, of our businesses, of our finances, of everything imaginable. I'm against the use of it to cause more dependency on the government where, we are out there, feed me, Uncle Sam, feed me, send me another check, please. That stuff is wrong. It's just wrong. It's not healthy. It's not good. It is against the very focus and foundation, not only of our Constitution and our country's basic premise, but it's against our faith. Paul said, "Man won't work, neither shall he eat," and that doesn't. I know that people are being told not to work. In this case, forced not to work. But the goal of that is that we'd all be productive. Solomon said, "There's nothing better for a man than he enjoy his labor under the sun." So we have, a biblical mandate to work and to enjoy it and to produce. And when government stops that and then turns our dependency on them instead of God, that's a problem. And I realize that there's a certain level of that may be necessary in an emergency. And this is, I'm sure, it qualifies as an emergency. I don't like the trend, and I don't like the exaggeration. I don't like the numbers that have been fudged. That's pretty much been proven that there's numbers being inflated. All of that, just, and as I see symptoms expanding, I can't help but wonder, why are we doing this now? Is it that we really just discovered that if you have an eye infection or, a headache, you could have COVID-19? Or is it that we're pushing this to the point where we want everybody to think they're sick and stay home? I don't know. I hope I'm just being jaded. But having seen CNN and others, the New York Times and others, make up stories from scratch and then get caught, I am very wary of what I hear. So what do we do with that? Well, what we do with that is we maintain our faith. We build our relationship with God. We spend the time productively serving and helping others. We think things through. We take precautions, but we're not paranoid. We don't go overboard with our precautions. I think we just have to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, as Jesus put it. So yeah, lot to talk about there, a lot to think about. Love to know how you're holding up. Are you experiencing quarantine fatigue? Are you getting restless? Do you feel like, enough already? I want this over. And it's true that we do need to reopen the economy for financial reasons. I would argue we need to reopen the economy for emotional and spiritual reasons. that people do need to kind of get back to some sense of normalcy. We are not designed to be cooped up and isolated from one another. And at some point, we have to weigh the benefit of, flattening the curve, as we hear so often in the news, which there is a benefit, there's wisdom in that, but we have to weigh that against the detriment of the depression, emotional isolation, relational distancing and destruction, and the economic devastation that we're already experiencing, and it probably will get worse. We have to be able to kind of, look at that. And there's a certain amount of Machiavellian thinking there, People get mad at the president when he suggests we go quicker to reopen. But he's in that place. I mean, we need to pray for him of weighing that in the balance, as is every governor. Our Governor Lamont is in that position. So is Governor Cuomo. All the governors of our states are having to weigh that, because there's a certain amount of that decision that the president and his administration are leaving to the states. When to open, what to open when, what phase to enter, and when to enter it. There's criteria and recommendations. Georgia has decided to ignore those to some degree. And that's, that's because they're having to decide. I mean, is the devastation from being isolated and broke worse than the devastation of having people get sick and some will die from COVID-19? And, the knee-jerk reaction that is the predominant reaction in media is, well, hey, we got to protect our health first and foremost, so we got to protect everybody first and foremost, which means nobody should die first and foremost, so therefore we can't open anything, we can't go anywhere, and we have to stay alone and wear masks and, face shields and everything else. Well, okay, what happens when the suicide rate starts to climb? And if it gets higher than the death rate for COVID-19, what do we do then? When people are hungry and there's not enough food, when the plants shut down such that there's not enough meat production, which is already being hinted at and warned. Purdue issued a warning yesterday that there would be shortages of some, pork and poultry because of processing plants that are closed, not enough workers to take care of the meat. So, right now we're not at a crisis state. There's plenty of food. Again, I don't want to be like the media. They would, love us to think that the shelves are empty, we're all going to starve tomorrow. But there is a risk that if we don't have processing plants and we don't have, people to transport the food from farmers to us and to the markets, that there would be a shortage. So when people are starving and there's riots and people are dying for that reason, or people are dying because of, suicide or because of whatever, at that point, do we look at the numbers and say, well, there's more of those than there are COVID-19 patients, so open it up, go. I mean, this is something we need. This is where we need godly wisdom, isn't it? The wisdom from above, as James called it. This is where we need to pray for supernatural guidance. This is where we need to look at Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, right? That we trust in the Lord with all of our hearts as a nation, and especially for our leaders to do this. Not lean on our own understanding and reason. To acknowledge him in all our ways and trust that he then will direct our paths and make them straight. Both of those translations are correct, by the way, make them straight and direct them. So we need to be praying that, and we need to be trusting in those things for our leaders, because this is not easy. The easy thing is to go with the flow, and that's what, a lot are doing, but there are others looking at it going, especially in a state where there are very few cases. There's no hot spot of outbreak, where precautions have been taken, but there's no cases, there's no spread, there's no major danger. In those cases, in those states, you say, well, no, but we're still going to keep all our businesses closed. No restaurants, no, salons, no this, no. No public gatherings of any kind, no concerts, no. Or do you say, well, let's slowly start to open some of that with precautions, with distancing 6 feet, even wearing a face mask in a public place? Maybe that's the route you go, because you are going to mitigate the emotional and financial destruction knowing that there's a very small chance that some are going to get it because there's very few cases in North Dakota or wherever you may be. So I think we just, people are judging that too. They'll see Florida or others doing stuff. They'll see them making moves to open certain things. Oh, those idiots, it's the Bible Belt. They're all stupid rednecks. They don't know what they're doing. Well, is it that simple? Or are they realizing that if they don't have many cases, things are managed, they are taking certain precautions? Do they weigh the emotional and economic destruction against the potential for COVID-19? And the other factor in, and just to be cold and mathematic here, most people who get COVID-19 recover. Vast majority do. So, do we want people to get it? No. Do we need to find a vaccine and a treatment? Of course we do. It's not like, you get tested positive for COVID-19 and we hand you a death certificate, tell you to make funeral arrangements and wheel you to the morgue. I mean, that's not true. I've seen people who we would have thought, man, they get COVID-19, they're finished, and they overcome it. They're better. They don't get a lot of news coverage. We get a few pictures or videos on social media, people being wheeled out of the hospital, whatever, and that's good. But for the most part, our national news, our networks are covering all the losses and the death and the need to make more caskets and all these macabre things. But they're not talking about the 95 to 98% of people who get it who are better, get better, and go back to life as usual. We even have some famous people, Tom Hanks being one, that have gone through that. Britain's Prime Minister is another one who's on the other day doing a press conference. He was in the ICU a couple weeks ago. Now he's doing press conferences. So the fact is that we also have to weigh in all these decisions the reality that even if some get it, let's go to North Dakota where there are very few cases. And they're weighing the emotional destruction, economic destruction of staying closed versus the risk of a few getting it because very few have it. Add to that the fact that they know that even if a few more get it, most of them are going to survive it. Should they stay shut down? Should they wait for the suicide rate to climb? Should they wait for a depression to set in where people can't work and there's riots in the street and people are hungry? If you're the leader, if you're the governor, what do? I think it's pretty obvious what you do. Contrary to the pressure of our media and some in government, and especially on the liberal side of things, most of us in that situation would reopen, wouldn't we? We'd do it with caution. We'd do it slowly. We'd take, have certain measures in place. We might still have people stand 6 feet apart in line. We might, as Georgia has done, say we want an empty table between every full table in the restaurants that are opening. Okay, all those things make sense. That's fine. I'm good with that. I think most people are. But would you really want them to stay closed, knowing all the things I just said and more? And then you've got on top of that the fact that there are some hopeful treatments that have been tested and tried, and there's some pretty interesting reports coming out that some of them seem to work. And in some countries, they've had great success with certain treatments. And so as much as our media wants to bash and tear down any potential treatment, especially if the president mentioned it, and misrepresent facts on studies that have been done on some of those treatments, by the way. If you doubt that, check out Laura Ingram's show from 2 nights ago, where she cataloged the media's response to the president's comments about a certain combination of drugs that were used, and presented the facts about the fact that he was right, and they just made him look like an idiot. There are some hopeful signs of treatment, and they're working on a vaccine, which is probably further out. You add all that together, and it doesn't really sound like we should stay closed for the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months or whatever. I think Governor Lamont made a comment about 6 months possibly, and I just can't imagine. Even here in Connecticut, where we are in a hot spot, certainly attached to New York, which is the primary hot spot in the country, does it really make sense to plan on just shutting everything down for 6 months? And again, what will the economic, emotional, spiritual damage be compared to the risk of catching it, but maybe overcoming it, and maybe having a cure for it just around the corner? So there's a lot there, guys. And all I'm saying is, I guess, a long-winded way of saying, The media wants us to think that anybody who opens anything right now is a complete idiot and a menace to society. Any state that decides to go into phase 1 or 2 is, anathema, should be chopped out of the union and, shipped off as an independent country. And I am not buying it. I'm not sure that's true. I don't think if any of us were in the position of being a governor in one of those states or in the position of our president, we would want to take that stance in some cases, knowing all the facts, weighing all the realities. And so I think we're going to see a turning of the tide. There are a lot of people who are fed up. They have quarantine fatigue. And I think because of that, we are going to see more states opening, more businesses opening. And by God's grace, some recovery there. And so we need to pray for healing. We need to pray for protection from the virus, of course. We need to pray for guidance in our leadership and wisdom regarding timing and all that stuff. But we also have to stand against some of the, what would I say, craziness? I mean, I've worked with hypochondriacs and in years past and through my life. And, one of the sad things about them as a group of folks is that, or people that have those tendencies, you can mention anything. You could say, I read somewhere that, if you have tight lips, you may have, cervical cancer, or you might have, some contagious blood disease, leukemia, and they'll go to the mirror and they'll go, oh my gosh, I got to call my doctor. Look, I have tight lips. So, not that we should mess with people, but you can say that. You can just throw something out and they'll go, oh no, look, I've got it. And when I hear all these potential symptoms being added to the list, I'm very wary. So be careful, and be careful how you share that too. Listen, if someone feels sick, they should get tested. Okay, I'm all about that. But really, we're going to add eye infections now. So I wake up every morning with pretty gunky eyes. I have an inner lid infection that doesn't ever really go away. I have to take certain precautions, wear certain type of contacts because I wear contacts, not right now, obviously, but many times I do. I have to be careful about washing my hands and taking precautions there. So, if having some kind of eye infection is a sign of COVID-19, I've had it since I was a teenager, apparently. I must be the biggest carrier of COVID-19 in the history of mankind. I had COVID-19 before it was even in existence, apparently, because I have an ongoing inner lid issue. So I just think we need to be, time out. All right. Anyway, enough said there. So, yes, Linda says we should pray for treatment. Yes. And good morning to you, Linda, by the way. I don't think I said good morning to Richard. And I don't know, I probably missed some people in there, but it's great to have you aboard. So a lot to think about, a lot to pray about, a lot to be aware of there. Just don't get sucked into the hype. That's what I'm saying. And deal with this with wisdom and balance and reason and not just run like lemmings off the cliff. What else? I was going to share with you some other thing. I talked yesterday a little bit about Kim Jong-un. Now the North Koreans are saying, oh no, he's fine. He's alive. He's great. Of course, he's not showing up anywhere. There's no video. He's not on camera anywhere. So there's still a lot of doubt about it. Although there was a South Korean official who claimed that he was alive, and that they would seem to have less skin in the game to want to promote a false idea or false narrative. So who knows? We shall see. But it is interesting how every so often these foreign leaders disappear and then reappear. Hey, he's back. So we'll find out soon. But again, I'm not worried about the vacuum. I think having him out of the limelight or sidelined, or even if he had passed away, having this facade carried on, I think is good because it keeps them somewhat at bay in terms of causing more trouble in the world, at least for now. All right, well, that's it. I don't have a whole lot more in terms of news. Tomorrow night, Wednesday night, we will do our last online Zoom-based Bible study on 1 Corinthians. You're certainly welcome to join us. But know that next week, the first Wednesday in May, we'll be starting a study on Colossians. We'll be doing a 4-week study on that. If you want to join us to kind of walk verse by verse through the book, talk about its application. I always say that in real estate there are 3 rules, right? Location, location, location. And in Bible study and in presenting and teaching the Word, there are 3 rules as well. Application, application, application. You know, our society and our education system is very academic, and we measure based on knowledge of facts, etc. We often test based on that. And I think that's fine, except that what matters most in life is what we do with what we know. Not just knowing it, but doing with it appropriately. So especially when it comes to Christianity, I'm all about understanding how to use the Word and then making sure that we do, that we're seeing the fruit of that change in our lives. And so I tell young preachers and teachers that when they're growing up and coming through the ranks, that the first thing they should think about is application. What is the listener going to do with what I'm sharing? I think God is very concerned about that. Not just that we have Bible knowledge, being able to spit out Scripture, memorize things, but that we know what to do with it and we're using it. And I think that's key. So when we go through these studies, that's what we do. If you're interested, you want to join us, want to find out how, send me a note, an email, so I can send you a link. The best email to use for that is joel@lifewaych.com. joel@lifewaych.com, and we'll make sure you have that. Then starting in June, we'll be going through 2 Corinthians, and that'll be a Monday night study, again, using Zoom, and it's the same thing. You want to participate, send me a note, joel@lifewaych.com, and we'll get you plugged in. Speaking of Lifeway, still a lot happening, still a lot occurring online and otherwise. And if you want to find out more about us, go to lifewaych.com and check it out, surf, and click and watch and view videos and all kinds of good things. Realize that we are still doing every week our 9:30 and 11:15 a.m. services, and there's all kinds of interactive ways to be part of that. You can chat with us as the service is going on. You can talk in church and no one's going to yell at you. Whoa! We have online connection cards, and we have gifts for new visitors that we send in the mail. There's all kinds of things happening. Kids Church, lots of fun. Oh my gosh. On our YouTube channel, you can find Lifeway Kids, and you'll see the fantastic job that Pastor Christine and Tim do there, putting that together every week. So that stuff's still available and out there for you. If you have needs or you want to help fulfill needs, please call us. Let us know. We want to connect the dots as much as possible. The church office number is 860-436-9216. 860-436-9216. And someone will plug you in if you need help, or show you perhaps how you can serve and jump in if you want to offer help in terms of your time or money or whatever it might be. We appreciate that. There have been a lot of cool things happening and being done. People making masks, people giving away goodies. One of our chaplains today is going to camp outside of one of our treatment centers where there have been a number of COVID cases and hand out treats and goodies to the nurses. And I'm going to be doing some of that too. Thursday morning, I'll probably be doing a Dunkin' Donuts run for some nurses at one of the places. But you know what? We need to love these people and care for them and help them through this, don't we? Especially our frontline warriors, as they're being called, our heroes. So I want to close in prayer, and then we'll wrap up for today. But again, we'll be here tomorrow morning at 7:30 every weekday. But let's ask God for some help with some of this. Lord, we do pray for guidance and wisdom for our leaders, our president, our governor, our governors of all the states. And we pray for help to know how best to respond to this. Yeah, being wise, but not being paranoid. Being able to act responsibly, but still act and still be able to do things that are necessary and productive. Keep our nurses safe. Bless them. Be with them. God, help us to encourage the healthcare workers every chance we get, and to see them protected from this disease, as well as this virus, as well as others. So we thank you for that, God. We praise you. We love you. We submit to you this day with confidence in who you are. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you guys. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 7:30. In the meantime, stay in the Word, keep praying, keep pondering. Bye for now.